being able to establish a culture of what it means to be a Coug and representing our brand as WSU student athletes, people who wear the Coug head on our chests a lot.
Going into this NCAA championship, I just want to kind of prove to myself and show up for my teammates and my family and just swim my heart out and have fun no matter what the outcome is.
Very happy. It was a very good season for our program, and especially just conference just capped it off. And again, with what we're about to do at NCAAs, it's just been, again, I guess a dream come true again with year 2 already.
Welcome into the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. Thanks so much for joining us another week, another edition of the podcast. And we say this a lot. We've got a lot to get to, but we got another jam-packed show. We've got WSU golfer and student athlete advisory committee president Ben Borgida joining us. We'll have swimmer Emily Lundgren and swimming coach Russell Whitaker all stopping by on this week's episode. A big thanks as always to our sponsor of the show, BECU. We got so much to get to. Let's dive right into it. Joined as always by Jon Haarlow. Jon, you've been a busy man. How are you doing?
I'm good, Chris. Good to see you. Good to be back in Pullman. I feel like I say that at the start of every episode, but that means we're moving and shaking, right? We've been out and about. Just to reflect over the last week or so, we left last Wednesday to head towards Vancouver, go to the Board of Regents discussions. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times, but always good to get in front of that group and have the conversations. One, certainly present where athletics is and where we want to go, but also to hear all the other things about what's important to other units on campus. We obviously have a lot of internal discussions as a campus, and I try and stay as plugged in there as possible, but it's always good to get the Regents' perspective on different things. Obviously, we had big news coming out of that discussion. Resolution put forward about $20 million in one-time funds, and I won't unpack that too much here. We will want to do next week an episode where we get into that more in detail with a special guest. But just to provide some context on that, obviously we were in the change of the Pac-12 and we're excited about where the Pac-12 is headed, but it does have some changes in our revenue landscape between the old distributions and the new. And so one of the things that this does is that we had a projected revenue shortfall for next year to maintain our current operation as we've done right now. So what this does is helps backfill that to allow us to continue to operate where we believe that we need to be leaders in the Pac-12 moving forward. So this is not where we're getting $20 million over new in our above what our old operating budget is. It bridges a gap for us, and it's a plant the flag for campus saying, hey, we believe in the mission. We believe in what the athletic department can do for our institution, for enrollment, for our alumni base. Come alongside us. Let's get involved. They've got skin in the game. Let's move forward. So good news, really good news, and allows us to continue to operate. And, we've got some strategic things to look for as we launch the new Pac-12, and really excited about that date. Again, I say this every time, but it is coming quick. And we do want to be leaders in that. And this is an important step towards that. So we were there Wednesday night, Thursday discussions, flew Friday to Vegas. Super proud of what the women's team did there, going 2-1 there, finishing what they rattled off 4 in a row before dropping a tough one there at the end. But the group battled so hard. There's a lot of great student athletes, believe in Coach Etheridge and what she does there. And I think there's a lot of positives to build on for next year too. And every coach wants to win every game, right? We all want to win every game as passionate fans. And that's why we do what we do here, for the love of it. And, obviously Coach Riley, the same thing. They want to win every game, not the result that they wanted out there, but, we turn the page quickly, start finding ways to get more resources into those programs to wrap them in the support that they need to be successful. And here we go. So it's on to the next phase in that. So one of the things that I think a lot of my colleagues too, there's all these different pieces out there, revenue, the business model, NIL, this and that. I got into this deal because I love the opportunities that student athletes get. There's the highs and the lows of winning and losing. And boy, are they opposite ends of the spectrum. And so one of the things that, I feel very passionate is you talk to the student athletes when they're winning, but you also talk to the student athletes when they're losing. And when they come off the court, when you high five them when they come off the court, when they win, you put your arm out there, high five them when they come off after a loss and say, hey, keep your head up. Focus on, what's in front of you. Still a major opportunity there in life. Maybe season's over, nobody wants the end like that, but I feel very responsible to make sure that they understand there's still next phases out there. And so it's tough when you see student athletes that this is what they work for, right? This is their dream, their opportunity, and we're a small piece in allowing them to chase that, but it's hard when they have heartbreak. And so still good to be out there, though. Obviously, that was Saturday? I believe that was Saturday. Several conference tournaments going on out there at the same time. So a really good opportunity to get in front of several different people, meet up with colleagues, have conversations about where the NCAA landscape is, where it's going. And then we had some Pac-12 discussions while we were out there as well. And so productive discussions there. I really enjoy our leadership group there at the Pac-12, both the staff and the other ADs. It's a very strategically driven group that bounces a lot of ideas off of each other, pushes each other too. Everybody's in this league, building a new league for a reason to push all these institutions forward into the next chapter. A little bit chaos right now, not Pac-12 necessarily, but the NCAA environment. So we're all trying to navigate that and try and do that as best aligned as we can. So that was fun. Again, good conversations there. Wrapped that up. What would have been Tuesday afternoon. My days are a little bit off. I woke up this morning. I thought, oh, it's Monday. It's not. It's Wednesday, Chris. But then, the best part of it, you catch that 11 o'clock. We flew Vegas to Seattle, and everybody that flies into Pullman knows about the Seattle, 10:54 or 11 p.m. flight that gets you into Pullman at midnight. And was lucky enough to have both the men's and women's golf teams on that flight too. So a nice cap to be able to spend some time with them and those coaches, just kind of hanging out, decompressing in the airport a little bit, catch up on how their rounds went. And when you get to see them in different spaces like that, it's always fun to chat about what's going on with them athletically and academically too. So all in all, a productive trip. And I think we've got some really good things to build on moving forward.
And there have been some packed weeks in 2026, let's say. We're already in the middle of March now, but that might be right up there. That is a busy stretch since we got a last catch up here on the podcast. And just one other thing I want to make sure to mention, really outstanding. We're going to have Emily Lundgren on this week's episode coming up in a little bit, but the Seattle Sports Star Banquet is this Friday in Seattle, and Emily Lundgren, one of the female sports star nominees. So a big tip of the hat there. That is awesome.
Emily is tremendous. 4-time NCAA, being able to compete in the NCAA championships. I believe she's the only Cougs swimmer to be able to do that. She's got 59 career wins. Chris, that's incredible. I think she's got 18 this year alone. So Emily's been a tremendous Coug. Getting to spend time with her on this will be, I think our fans will enjoy it. Pretty tremendous what the Cougs continue to do, and I'm always floored to see when you look at a stat sheet of what they've been able to accomplish. Just proud of what our student athletes continue to do.
Well, what Emily and those other Cougar athletes have on tap this week, let's dive right into it. You mentioned men's basketball, women's basketball, having their time in Vegas, wrapping up in the conference tournament. So the season complete there for both of them. Track and field, sophomore Rosemary Longisa will compete in the mile event at the NCAA Indoor Track Championship this weekend. That's down in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Swimming, we have talked a little bit about swimming. We'll talk more about swimming coming up. They're preparing for the NCAA Championships. That's March 18th through the 21st in Atlanta. Darcy Rivet, Emily Lundgren will compete. Baseball, most recently down in Texas, went 1-3 against Texas State. This week, though, is when conference play begins for the baseball team down at San Diego State. A quick plug, that will be the beginning of our broadcast schedule, our radio broadcast on the Cougar Sports Network. You can listen into those broadcasts. We're going to have every conference game. We're going to have every non-conference game against Oregon State and Gonzaga, and any postseason. You can listen on the WSU Cougars Game Day app, WSUCougars.com/audio, here in Pullman, on KQQQ. The vast majority of the games will be on in Spokane. All of them will be on Spokane. KXOY 920, mostly the home there. If not, it'll be on 700 ESPN. And then about a dozen games will be on in Kona. So ways to follow along the radio broadcast now that we're into conference play for baseball. Elsewhere, tennis lost to number 16 Pepperdine last week, but had two impressive wins individually. Maxine Murphy defeated the nation's number 10 player, and Eva Alvarez-Sandy defeated the number 43rd ranked player in the nation. That is awesome. The Cougs travel to Eugene to face Oregon this Friday. Women's golf, Cougs finished 11th down at the Invitational that they were a part of most recently earlier this week in San Francisco. A junior, Sarah Pineros, led WSU with a 13th place finish. Next up, we'll be at the Silicon Valley Showcase in California, March 29th through the 31st. In men's golf, WSU finished 7th in a very strong field at the Invitational they took part in down in Northern California earlier this week. 10 of the 15 teams in the field ranked in the top 50, and WSU finished ahead of 6 of those teams. So senior Sam Renner finished 3rd after posting 11 birdies and no bogeys over his final 2 rounds. Next in action will be at the Goodwin at Stanford, March 26th through the 28th. Another week, a lot going on, John.
Yeah, no notes, Chris. You always nail it, but maybe a few exclamation points. Again, Rosemary competing in the NCAA championships in the mile. We'll get into a lot of swimming, obviously, here, but heading toward NCAA championships. Gotta love when you continue to be able to see we've got Cougs on the national stage, represent the brand, represent themselves and the teams. For Maxine and for Ava, a team loss certainly, but I think coach would say they built a lot on that, learned a lot. But for them to come back with individual wins during that match over the 10 and 43rd ranked player in the nation, that's a big deal. Big opportunity for baseball to start conference play with the Mountain West this week. That's huge. I know coach and the team is excited for that. And then again, men's golf finishing 7th in a pretty stacked field there. That's huge for their rankings, and proud of what that group did. Big wins over some very highly ranked and very competitive teams there. So Cougs doing Coug things in a very positive way, and it's incredible. And we never have a light week to discuss here, which is exactly what we want. So it's all good news and exciting weeks ahead.
3 fun conversations coming up. We'll have our first guest right after this with our word from our sponsor, BECU.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple go Cougs at an airport halfway around the globe? Or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
Time now to welcome in our first guest on this week's edition of the podcast. John, can you tell us who we have stopping by here today?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Excited about this. We have redshirt junior golfer Ben Borgida, a couple other titles here, president of our student athlete advisory committee. Ben and I Ben was on the flight last night. I think we were both asleep at the luggage carousel. So good to see Ben is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. But maybe most notably, Ben is a tremendous trivia night Jeopardy host when you pull groups together, a future in that field if you choose to go that way. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, that's quite the introduction there. Let's rewind just a little bit here. 4th year at WSU. Can you take us through how did you ultimately end up becoming a Coug?
Yeah, so I'll actually tell a little bit of a funny story for my commitment. When I was playing a tournament at Palouse Ridge as a junior golfer and didn't have a lot of traction with recruiting and ended up playing really well that week. My coach White followed me around for in the last round, and on my way back home to Seattle, I got a text from him, and he said, "Is there any way you have some time to walk around campus tomorrow morning?" And we were halfway home. Like, I live in Seattle, so we were almost at the Vantage Bridge, and I was like, "Mom, like we've driven 2.5 hours." I was just with my mom, and I felt like a very decisive moment in my life. I was like, well, we're either going to turn back around and go check out WSU with Coach White, or we're just going to go home. And my mom was like, are you kidding me? Like, we're turning this car around and we're going to go check it out. And so, yeah, I mean, Coach White was was super impressive in our visit. And, yeah, that was definitely the moment on when I decided to be a Coug.
That's a pretty awesome story. I think as Cougs, we can all picture that drive to or from the Vantage Bridge. Ben, we mentioned a couple of these things. You're on the golf team, President's Honor Roll, carrying a 3.96 GPA, majoring in biology. In your free time, you're the Student Athlete Advisory President. What do you do in your free time? And I use that with air quotes.
Right. Yeah, as you mentioned, yeah, not a whole lot of that at the moment. I will say I live with 4 other of the golf teammates, and it's super fun to hang around the house. I really enjoy cooking with them and hanging out. But yeah, oftentimes my evenings are filled with a quick shower and sort of busting out whatever kind of work I have to do for the next day. But yeah, it's definitely a day-to-day kind of basis for free time wise.
It's an impressive schedule, man. It truly is.
Well, when it comes to the work you do with SAC, can you explain to fans what you feel the mission of SAC is?
Yeah, for sure. I'll also tell another story about my freshman year. I was heading up to the grade up for the first time, and I walk into that beautiful facility, and my eyes are just wide open. You have basketball players and football players, all these dudes. I've never seen someone that tall or that strong or that big. I was like, oh my gosh, like so intimidated. They don't know what to do. And I just totally resonate with that feeling for freshmen coming in. And one of the biggest, like our mission statement or our goal for SAC this year is to create a cohesive culture of Cougs throughout all sports. And especially with the environment of the transfer portal, the turnover on a few teams is pretty high. And so being able to establish a culture of what it means to be a Coug and representing our brand as WSU student athletes, people who wear the Coug head on our chest a lot. It's important to establish what that means to be a student athlete. And along with that, obviously running some fun events like Jeopardy Night, and coming up our Cougar Sports Awards, where we're able to celebrate all of our great accomplishments of our student athletes. And then finally as well, creating a bridge to the institution and conference level. So having meetings with Jon and other exec members, and then also with some stuff going on at the Pac-12. So kind of involved in quite a few circles.
Well, that is a great way to describe what the mission is. And you kind of scratched the surface, I feel like, on my next question here. But the initiatives, what are some of the initiatives that you're working on as president?
Yeah, for sure. So we have an emphasis on volunteering. So we work a lot with the Special Olympics in Pullman, and as well as kind of working on this fundraiser right now called Polar Plunge for the Special Olympics athletes in Pullman. And so always working to try and engage with our community. And then as well as we're really working on figuring out how we can get student athletes to support each other at our home games so we're working on student athlete attendance nights. So we're picking some games for all student athletes to come show out. So hopefully we'll create a super fun and engaging environment. So those are probably the 2 initiatives we're working on right now.
Ben, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but so my kids come to every football game, they come to every basketball game, they're at every baseball game, every soccer match, volleyball, you name it, they're here all the time. But their absolute, without a doubt, favorite event of the year is Bush's Bash around Christmas time. You all do such an incredible job with that. It's fun, it's engaging. We spend, I don't know how much time there, but the kids leave there hopped up on sugar. They don't go to sleep for a while, but student athletes do such a tremendous job with that. So again, I think I've said this before, but kudos to that, because that's the highlight of the year in the Haarlow household. So switching gears, more focused on the golf side of your student athlete experience here. What has your experience been like as a member of the golf team?
Yeah, it's actually funny. I was able to see one of my good buddies at the tournament this last week, and he's about to take the MCAT and was describing how humbling it is to to be involved in kind of these highly rigorous activities. And that is kind of a good word that I would use to describe a lot of my experiences, is really humbling. I think when you sort of are a big fish in a small pond in high school, and you come out and play at the Division I level, you realize what talent is out there. And we played this field this week. We played with a guy who flew overnight on Sunday night from the PGA Tour event, and so you really are competing against the top of the top guys. But yeah, definitely humbling. Golf is a really, really tough game with lots of highs and lows. But you always do your best to try and get a little bit better every day. And it's so fun, but always learning.
Ben, you graduate in the spring. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you'll still have another year to play. After that, what's the future hold for you?
That's such a great question. I definitely anticipate playing some professional golf. I think that's I've worked super hard to create the opportunities I had to be at WSU and to compete at this level. And so I think I owe it to myself to at least give it a try, especially with the environment of what professional golf looks like and the opportunities. And then I'm currently deciding whether I'm going to take the MCAT or the DAT. I know one of my passions is helping people. And so deciding where I'm going to put my energy and my future is yet to be decided.
Well, there's no doubt about whatever your future holds, it's going to be a bright one. You're a tremendous Coug. You're a tremendous representation of our student athletes and what they're capable of. Glad to know you, Ben. Thanks for all you do for us.
Yeah, thanks, John. Of course.
Well, a big thanks to Ben for his time. And we've got one phenomenal representative of Cougar athletics in Ben, and we got another one coming up. Our second guest will be right after this.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple go Cougs at an airport halfway around the globe? Or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
Well, John, I kind of said it in the tease, but it feels like we got a murderer's row of outstanding Cougar student athletes joining us today. Can you tell us who we got stopping by right now?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Excited now to be joined by arguably the most decorated WSU swimmer of all time, senior Emily Lundgren. Emily, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you are busy and you've got a lot going on, but holy smokes, you're getting ready to head to your fourth NCAA championship, a first for a Cougar swimmer. How's training going?
It's going really well. I mean, this morning we just had, we did our broken swim, so kind of like a race prep day. And me and Darcy are pretty excited about our times. I think it's a good reflection of kind of where we're at right now. We a little bit more than a week out. So I think we're in a really good spot, and I think it gives us a lot of confidence going into next week, how we've been swimming. So we've been having a lot of fun at practice too, which I think is the best part. So
for a lot of student athletes, I would think participating in one NCAA championship would be a dream or a moment of a lifetime. Then you had two, then you had three. Now you're headed to your fourth. What's different between the first three and this one? Is there a difference?
I think this one, I'm really just trying to take in everything and have fun. I think this whole year has just been kind of me seeing what I can do and really taking in every moment that I have. Every race I don't want to take for granted. I could have not made it. And so you never know when your last race is going to be. And so kind of going into this NCAA championship, I just want to kind of prove to myself and show up for my teammates and my family and just swim my heart out and have fun no matter what the outcome is.
Well, you have been nominated for the Female Seattle Sports Star of the Year Award, a fantastic recognition. What did you think when you heard about this?
I was definitely shocked. I didn't ever imagine that I'd be nominated for something like this, and just kind of going through seeing the nominees for this year, past nominees, past winners. It was such an honor to even be considered for it. And so kind of, picking out my dress and like my shoes with my mom has been super fun. And I know my parents are going to be there, so they're beyond excited for me And so I'm just super excited to kind of spend the night celebrating Washington athletes.
And the event is coming up on Friday. So what are you expecting?
I don't know what to expect, really. I'm just kind of more like going in with an open mind. I think I'm a little nervous. I have to do some like media stuff, which is kind of fun, but I'm excited to just see who I meet and kind of make connections and get to talk to the other nominees, kind of looking at what they've done. It's really inspiring to me. So I think it's also a good kind of prep for NCs, kind of take my mind off of that and just have fun.
It's an honor that's well deserved. You're also a 4.0 carry a 4.0 GPA, studying digital technology and culture. You're also an academic All-American. How do you balance it all? How do you find the balance between athletics and academics? Is there a balance?
Yeah, I think ever since high school, I mean, I've got it down pretty well with balancing kind of, you know, obviously the training schedule that we have and then getting my homework done and everything on time to maintain a 4.0. I also think that I really do enjoy my major. I have so much fun. I kind of come to practice and tell my coaches like what I'm making and all this. And they always say like they chose the wrong major because I'm having so much fun in mine. And so even my parents, they say I've never met someone who has so much fun going to classes and doing all this. So I definitely think that makes it a little easier as I really do enjoy what I'm doing.
With your Cougar career starting to wind down, what are your plans following graduation?
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of playing around with what I want to do. You know, there's an opportunity to keep swimming. There's not really like a professional swim kind of path, but I could keep training for the 2028 Olympic trials, which I think would be such a fun honor. And I had a lot of fun in 2024, so might do that. But I know that I definitely want to pursue my education and get my MBA. And I've also been in a creative video internship for 4 years since my freshman year. So working with Katie Barton has been so fun these past 4 years, and she's really shown me that this is kind of what I want to do and the career path I want to go on. So kind of also looking for different internships or different roles that I could do to kind of further my career with creative video, kind of working with college sports or maybe a professional sport. I think that would be the end goal.
It's awesome. Shout out to KB and her team and everything that they do. Maybe to piggyback off that, when you look back on your time in Pullman, when this does wrap up, what are you going to remember the most about your time here?
I think the people. I've met kind of the most amazing people here. I think anytime I walk down the halls, I always have someone to say hi and kind of chat it up with, which I think is so cool. And I mean, like my team, it changes every year, but I think that like the culture that we have kind of maintains, like stays the same. And I just like, I love going to practice with them every day and like getting through the hard sets. So, you know, I think that's what I think about like the past 4 years. I don't remember much from, you know, like my freshman year was kind of long ago, but I do remember just like all the friends that I've made and the fun times that I've had.
Well, you're tremendous. Yeah, just going to exclamation point on that, Chris. Emily, you're a tremendous Coug. We're grateful to have had you here for 4 years. Excited to watch you continue to compete for us and if there's a next step there, which is awesome. So thanks for the 4 years and excited to root you on here in the next several weeks.
Thank you.
And Friday as well. You got a lot going on. What an exciting time that it is. Well, coming up, we'll talk a little more Cougar swimming. That's right after this. Jon, our next guest, this is someone who has this special distinction of already being a 2-time guest on the podcast. That's quite the honor so far.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Hot debate whether it's our only 2-time guest or not. So, but excited to have our head swim coach, Russ Whitaker. Russ, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, second year as a head coach, second trip to NCAAs. When you hear that out loud, how's that make you feel?
Yeah, I think it's just very rewarding. I think a lot of it is just the culture that we've got here right now with our swim program. Especially didn't get to hear what Emily had to say, but I'm sure it's amazing stuff as far as like what she's done here with our program. But getting to see again how she's impacted this team, getting to see Darcy Revitt step up, but again a lot of the other leaders that I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more on this. But just very blessed. I think that's really what has led a lot to it. I think we're just trying to be as helpful as we can as coaches. So yes, very exciting to see that. But I think that's just more of a statement on what our team's been able to do here this last 2 years.
Well, before we get into Emily and Darcy specifically, can you give us an overview of how the season went, capped off by a strong showing at the Mountain West Championships?
Yeah, can't complain. It was a 7-0 dual meet year again for WSU swimming, so we were really happy with that. This year, I think especially, and it kind of will segue into what we talked about with conference, but the big thing for us this year was making sure our depth showed up in our dual meets, and that definitely happened this year. We weren't relying on just 3 or 4 kids in our meets. Every single one of our dual meets this year, how the depth showed up from top to bottom was just very impressive, very inspiring to see that. And that was the big goal that we wanted to preach as we headed into conference. For us, one of our team goals is to be top 3 at our conference championships that we outline with our program. And so once we saw last year, we won 7 events last year between relays and individuals at conference, but we were 5th place overall. And I think that really kind of showed the team, hey, we've got to make sure that everybody steps up. And you saw that this year. I mean, for us, at the Mountain West Championships to be 2nd overall without the diving points, that did come down as a true team effort. And that came down to the final event. We had to beat UNLV in that 400 free relay in order for that to happen. And I think that was the big thing for us. And making sure that team score was never a big thing for us. We stayed away from even talking on that as a staff. We didn't even touch on that throughout the meet. Just at the end of the day, our score is going to be what our score is going to be. And so just making sure we focused on the team and just what we needed to get done well. But very happy. It was a very good season for our program, and especially just conference just capped it off. And again, with what we're about to do at NCAAs, it's just been, again, I guess a dream come true again with year 2 already.
Coach, I'm going to go off script, a break from the questions. Do you have a caffeinated beverage within arm's reach of you right now?
I do. I definitely do. I've got a cup of coffee, and then I've got an energy drink on the other side of this right now. But yeah,
I figured I might nail that one.
Yes, that one you can. There's a 99% chance that you're going to find that. So yes,
understood. So talk about the strides that Emily and Darcy have made to return to the NCAA championships again this year.
Yeah, this year it's a bit of a new format as far as there's some now you can AQ in and stuff, but really traditionally it's the top 35 athletes get to go to the NCAA championships in each event. And for them, that's for them to be able to be within those rankings regardless of an AQ status or not. The NCAA championships, it's actually the fastest swim meet in the world. It's faster than the Olympics because you are consolidating the top 35 basically best athletes in the world when you factor in internationals and everything into that meet. So NCAA it's no joke if you are truly within that top 35 ranking, and that's nothing against the AQ model. It's still amazing for the schools that do capitalize on that. But just seeing that type of stuff, I mean, that is, I think, what's insane to understand just how fast they are. I think Emily right now is about 11th or 12th heading into the NCAA championships in the 200 breaststroke. Darcy's right now knocking on top 16 in her events as well as a sophomore. So very excited to see what they will accomplish. But I think that's the testament we like to put out there, just how fast this meet is.
This Friday, you're heading to the Seattle Sports Stars banquet with Emily as a female nominee. How excited for her as her coach and to see her accomplishments be recognized at an event like that?
Yeah, very excited. And again, she's earned every bit of that. And it's nothing against, I don't think Emily's deserved this. She has earned it. Everything that you look at what she's done. And her journey is so extraordinary. I think that's led to this. And what's really cool is Erin Eldridge, arguably beforehand, was our most decorated swimmer from the early 2000s. She was our first All-American. And she's kind of has been a mentor. She actually got to speak with Emily and the team this year, and that was really cool. But their journeys are so unique, right? Both of them, their first NCAA experience, they were both dead last in their events. Emily was dead last as a freshman in her event. Same with Erin. The next year, they were both in a B final, and then they both made the A final on that 3rd try. Emily getting a 4th try now over Erin. But watching that journey, just how unique, and being able to face that adversity, she has just earned this every step of the way. There are so many opportunities where Emily could have maybe not given up, but let a lot of stuff impact her between, a coaching change. She was very close with Matt Leach, our previous head coach. I know that was not maybe a struggle, but just different in coaching style. And so there was that. You've got COVID. You've got being dead last. You've got, again, what has happened and what she's experienced. There have been so many bumps in the road that could have knocked her off the trail, but she has just stayed true. And that's where I'm just so happy to see this. Again, regardless of the outcome, I mean, just her getting to be at the event is just so inspiring. And that's why I love having Emily on pool. Even as a coach, she inspires me every day again when it's oh, maybe I've had a bad day. And then you look at what some of these other, what some of the women on this program go through, and you're okay, I've actually got it really good, right? And so that's just, again, why I absolutely love having her. I'm just very excited for her.
True representation of resilience to work through her journey. Pretty awesome. You've got Darcy for 2 more years, but Emily will be graduating in the spring. What has she meant to the program during her time here?
Yeah, I think just again, just the impact that she's been showing, and I think just showing what's possible with this, right? I kind of look of if with her making this A final, I think it just kind of proves to people, hey, you can make an A final here at Washington State, and you can accomplish great things. You can go on to represent Team USA at the World University Games and different stuff like that. A lot of great things can happen here, and I think that's what's helping set Darcy up for success as well, just on especially what she's about to hopefully be accomplishing here on the international stage. I mean, Darcy was down at the U.S. Open back in December, and she was swimming right next to Simone Manuel, a gold medalist, and was just off of her with that. So you start looking at just stuff like that of those experiences they're getting, but I think just proving themselves right. And I think Emily had touched on that right as I was getting on, but I do think there's a big difference between proving people wrong and proving yourself right. I think when you try to prove people wrong, that's driven by negative emotions. And just kind of a little bit more that you're just out there. Whereas when you're proving yourself right, we're in it for the right reasons. That's why everybody joined sports when they were, 8, 9 years old. And I think that's the biggest thing. So Emily, I think, has shown that. Darcy's showing that. But again, we've got a lot of other women on this program that show that as well. And again, that's, I think, what's exciting is Emily, I think, has started that trend, and just seeing how infectious it is. That's what's awesome.
You're doing a great job, Coach. Great work this year, last year, and go get them here at NCAA's.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Well, big thanks not only to Coach here, but to our student athlete guests as well on this week's episode. 2 incredibly impressive student athletes stopping by, Emily Lundgren and Ben Borgida. That will do it for this week's edition of the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. Reminder, as John said earlier, we got a special guest coming up next week. So excited for our next episode. Until next week, thanks as always to our sponsor, BECU. Appreciate you tuning in, and go Cougs.
Go Cougs.